Welcome to this week's episode of Dishing with Dad. I'm Mark.
And I'm Alexis. We're going to talk about Pinnacle Sports today. So when I say Pinnacle Sports, it's not a new news network. No, I'm talking about the top of the top. Not just the Olympics, but right now, the Super Bowl is going on today in America. Honestly, let's start off with the Super Bowl. I never watched the Super Bowl. Literally, the only times I've ever watched the Super Bowl was with you guys. Like, you guys would always host a party. Didn't matter who was playing in it. You guys didn't care.
Yep.
It was a reason to get together, potluck, friends, all kinds of games,
Absolutely.
And billiards and little brackets that you guys would have, like all kinds of fun stuff, right?
Yep.
So that was the only reason why I ever watched the Super Bowl. Now, as an adult, I don't think I've ever attended a Super Bowl party.
Well, to me, it was a... Well, okay, I'm a Bears fan, been one through and through, so yeah, we suck, and it's going to be a long time before we get to that
pinnacle the Ravens always choke,
of
so
sports.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's going to be a long time before we get to that pinnacle of sports, I guess you would say. So therefore, I had to do something else in order to enjoy the sport that I do love. I mean, I do love football, and so therefore, having and hosting, that's why we had built the house, built the basement, built it out. It's like hosting for events like that. And also have a little bit of fun with the Super Bowl by having the grid. And the grid, for anybody who doesn't know that, is a 10 by 10 board, basically, that you put numbers on the left and numbers on the right, 0 through 9, okay? And the 0 through 9 corresponds to the last digit of the team's score, all right? And then across one axis will be the visiting team, across the y-axis will be the home team, and then that's it. And throughout the night, we had various prizes. First quarter, if the number was 0 and 2, you win $20 or something
Your
like that.
name had to be in the grid. So like you had to, in order to claim a spot or whatever, it's like I said, home team is, their last digit is 3 or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Like if by the end of the first quarter it was home team and they had a score of 3, right? Let's say that. Alexis
and the away team
or whatever, or like a door prize or something.
Yeah, and you had the away team that had 1 or some combination of that or something like that. Enjoying the Super Bowl with friends and family was definitely something to look forward to, especially in the winter. To get caught up and ready for the new year for a lot of people that's where we do it at versus at the beginning of the year. The Super Bowl is really it because it's 4 hours of just hanging out. I truly enjoy it.
You had parties while I was growing up of the Super Bowl and stuff like that, but do you actually watch the Super Bowl because you want to watch the halftime show?
No, not at all.
No?
Halftime, no. And not because I don't like what's being done at halftime. For some people, they enjoy the halftime, but I that's my downtime. Okay, that's when I get a chance to actually eat because I'm hosting. And so you're hosting, you're running around, but at the same time, I'm stopping and watching the game. At halftime, it's like, now I can talk. But I really never paid attention to the Super Bowl halftime. If they say XYZ is going to be, okay, great. Okay, well, I don't care for that person. Honestly, I really don't care for the halftime show.
Well, I feel like now it seems that the more news I get is not about the teams and who's playing and whatever. It's about the performers. And I think
which is kind of weird because
it's controversial now. And I'm like, how?
Yeah.
It's hard.
It seems like every year there's a controversy with the choice of the halftime show. For me, it's the controversy of why did you spend $1 million for your commercial? It seems like every year there's a controversy with the choice of the halftime show. For me, it's the controversy of why did you spend $1 million for your commercial? Maybe they wanted to make it so bad that you'd remember too.
Okay, well, I do have to ask, though. Do you have any thoughts on the fact that the Super Bowl halftime show this year is most likely going to be entirely performed in Spanish?
Nope, not at all.
Like, no thoughts on it, or just doesn't bother you?
No, I've got no problem because I view the NFL has done a job. I don't want to say they've done a great job, but they are pushing hard for international recognition as a sport, just like soccer. Okay, let's face it, soccer is the sport, of the international world. And they're pushing hard for it, so why not select somebody that is international in fame to sing every so often or be the halftime? Now, don't get me wrong, I would not support it if they kept doing it year in and year out, okay? Because in the end, it's still an American sport to me, so we want to make sure that we keep the roots. But at the same time, though, throwing that international flavor in there every so often is nice. It's a change of pace. You know?
Let's not forget that he's from Puerto Rico, so it's technically not international. So you might want to
No, but he's
amend
known.
some of those statements.
Yeah, I don't want to amend. I think it's more generalization. Okay, Bad Bunny is definitely an international superstar. Okay,
Agreed. I see what you're saying. Okay, I was like, hold
yeah.
on, wait, hold on.
No, the target audience is international. The target audience is not American Spanish-speaking people. Okay.
Yeah. Although I do think, although I will say from a domestic side of things, I think that is insanely like amazing for our folks who are especially Hispanic or Latino in heritage. I feel like just as we had Kendrick Lamar last year, just really big. I don't want to say controversial, but big, rather envelope pushing, internationally recognized artists who aren't white or white appearing, I think is really, really important.
Even some could argue that even U2 when they were on, okay, they have plenty of international intrigue to them in some cases. So you could probably point out that a lot of the singers that
they're not going to go with nobody who, you know what I mean? A nobody who doesn't have international acclaim. Like everybody who's been on that stage already has that international acclaim. I think what you're trying to say, and I'm totally picking up on, and I agree with, assuming this is what you're saying, is that having a
wow, that's a long-winded way to say I'm about to put words in your mouth. Gotcha.
Yes, it is. Having a performer who's not speaking English and has international acclaim is fine, is great, because it continues to build that sport and the football, American football, excuse me, into a wider, more accepted globally phenomenon as a sport.
And honestly, I wish I knew the data behind how many eyeballs truly watch the halftime show. You know what I mean? And are we making a mountain? Is everybody making a mountain out of a molehill on this one?
And I agree. I mean,
I've got this choice, or I've got Kid Rock, or I've got
Puppies.
Oh my
God, no! And that's the other thing too. Is it's like there is no controversy. There shouldn't be a controversy. At the end of the day, the NFL chose what they chose. Like, okay, if you don't like it, don't watch it, or find some other programming. Like, why?
It's a freaking football game. That's all I care about.
Yeah, and that's my thing too. Is like I'm like, it's a game, it's a song, it's this. Like, why does it have to be? Don't get me wrong, games and songs, art and sports has a lot to do with cultural fabric. I'm not discounting that. But there's also a point where we're all taking it way too seriously.
No, I take the game way more seriously than any halftime show it's ever been. Okay, just because I love watching football. I'll watch any football game. I'll throw it on, no matter how terrible the teams are or how non-important they are. I'll watch it because it's football. And so your mom kind of hates it, but yeah, it is what it is. Okay?
Now, see, I've had the opportunity to go, but every time I've had the opportunity to go, the weather is absolute garbage. And I'm like, if I can't stand watching it at home, I'm not going to go sit and do that.
You've got.
Now, that being said, if I was like in a suite, sure, no problem. But like these seats were like, these seats were like, don't get me wrong, they were amazing seats. They were like, first 10 rows kind of thing, but I'm still like, I'm not going to go sit in snow.
No, you're going to freeze you're going to freeze your ass off. You're going to get, you're going to get snow covered. You're going to get iced up.
Absolutely.
No, in some sense, you had to have grown up with it in order to truly want to be there in it.
And I didn't. So it's not there for me yet.
No.
Speaking of snow and speaking of global fabrics, the Olympics are going on right now. The Winter Olympics in Italy. They're fantastic. They look amazing. I'm curious to know your thoughts about it, because you've actually been to the Olympics. What is it like being there?
Okay, so we attended the Summer Olympics, so just sort of clarity for everybody, never the Winter Olympics. And I'll be frank with you, the Winter Olympics seem cool. They just are cold. No pun intended.
Too cool. Okay? Too cool for you.
Yeah, exactly. So it's one of those, like, I'm not sure I'd want to, maybe for hockey, because it's indoor and it's in a controlled environment. But don't get me wrong, there's some sports out there in the Winter Olympics that'd be like, oh man, that'd be cool to attend. And yeah, the host countries definitely get into their teams, that's for sure. And I will admit, being there and part of that fabric, the atmosphere is just so much fun. There's two sports that I wanted to see live when the Olympics. One was ping pong. If anybody ever watches ping pong and watches some of those rallies, even those 5 second blurb that you see, you're going, this is freaking insane.
It's
And I wanted to see
insane.
one of those things live.
Yeah.
Okay. And yeah, all you hear is like, it's like, holy cow. But it was pretty amazing watching. The atmosphere at an Olympics is astounding. I think if anybody has the opportunity to go to an Olympics, choose a sport that you never see and go to it. Team handball. Let's talk about team handball. I wanted to see team handball for a long time. And kind of the impetus was when you and I attempted to do broadcast team handball for the
I
Olympics.
think we did literally one night of that. It was so bad. If I had to go see a sport right now in the winter tournament, I would probably want to watch big air.
Okay.
I just think that these people going down the mountain at like this fake mountain, but this ramp at 30 miles an hour minimum on a snowboard and then like twisting through the air and then landing is
I don't
insane
ski
to
at
me.
all, but one time I saw the angle at which those mountain slopes were, and I'm going, okay, on TV it doesn't look like that.
No, and that's part of the reason why I'm like, I really want to go see that in person, I think, because like I already appreciate it from a screen thousands of miles away, but I feel like you see it in person and like you see the angle and it's like actually like this.
Exactly,
and you're like,
exactly.
who
Like,
thought
I would
this
fall
was
flat
a
on my
good
ass.
idea to just let's make this a sport. Go down here,
Yeah.
do as many flips as you can, and land perfectly without a puff
Yeah.
of it, like one tiny puff of snow.
Yeah,
Who
exactly.
thought this was a
It looks so easy and flat. You know, oh well, what's the big deal about this? But then to truly appreciate it, yeah, you have to show up and see the angle at which they slope these mountains. It's insane. And same thing with downhill skiing. You know, they're going at 120 miles an hour. It seems like down this hill. And
crazy.
The
And
angle.
I think that would be another one I would want to see too. That one, and then also curling. I feel like, you know,
Curling.
I feel like curling actually probably doesn't get enough appreciation. Oh, and ice skating. Of course, ice skating. So I think I want to see
12
those
years,
things.
yeah.
But there are some things like bobsledding, I just think to go see it in person, it would be really cool. But I think because like depending on how the stands are, the odds of you actually seeing something, I feel like is actually pretty minimal.
Yeah, it's like going to an F1 race. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm like, maybe.
No, see, I always loved bobsledding and luge, but that was me. But curling, as you pointed out, and the only reason why I say curling is I got into watching it at the Olympics maybe 12 years ago. I didn't go, but it was because it was on TV. It was being broadcast basically at 10 o'clock in the morning all the way through 6 o'clock at night on channel XYZ. Okay, and so you could just sit there and watch it, and go, huh? And just, for whatever reason, it's like ping pong. You just get drawn to it. Okay.
Yeah.
So I could see myself going to one of those matches too.
Well, that and also, so a friend of mine invited me. There's a place over here that's doing like a curling, like for beginners thing, like
Yeah,
a
DC
seminar,
and Baltimore
like a
have
one-day
those.
thing. And I'm like,
Yeah.
ooh,
Do
so
it.
I want to go do it. I want to see how
Do
fast
it.
it takes me for my arms to fall off. Like, like I feel like, you know, it's
for
like
sweeping the broom.
yeah. It's like, because I don't necessarily know. I mean, maybe depending on which leg I use right now to do the
Push,
position,
yeah.
but like,
Yeah.
like, it's crazy. Like,
Yeah.
I think those sports would be awesome to see.
Now here's
Now, I want
the
you-
negative. Here's the negative that right now this year's Olympics. Okay. I mean, obviously it's 6 hours away. It's in Italy, so it's 6 hours ahead of us. And you get that when you get global Olympics. Okay, fine. Problem is, some of those sports, nobody gets to see a lot of, right? Well, before the advent of digital media, you were able to. There's a time in between there where NBC broadcast on different channels all these sports, and they just left it there all day long. Like he was talking about curling. Now all of a sudden NBC brought it back and put it behind their paywall. Okay, NBC, I'm looking at you. How difficult is it to just make it free for 2 weeks? This will draw more people into subscriptions, in my opinion, than ever, because now people will just sit there and go, I can watch curling all day long. Okay.
Well, see, but that's just it, though. You just said exactly what it is, right? Like they need the subscription. So in order, like it's the appetizer. They're like, okay, you can watch curling from 2 to 4 p.m. Eastern, but if you want to watch it 24/7, you have to subscribe. So
Come
I feel
on
like
over.
that's really
Yeah,
what
but
it is.
Yeah, I don't disagree. And yeah, they show the USA hockey games on USA Network, and then NBC covers, of course, figure skating and a few of the other things live, especially on the weekends. But during the weekdays, they don't, because for whatever reason, they want to make sure that their other programming that probably gets 10 eyeballs on is running, okay, and their commitments. So it's kind of sad that in today's digital age that something like that should be, in my opinion, should be free, because that's what the Olympics are for, right?
Yeah.
And I get you got sponsors and stuff like that you have to fulfill and the money you outlaid, but that I personally think 2 weeks of free would be a much more better marketing tool than a smidge here or there for 2 or 3 hours.
Yeah, I don't know. Or maybe like a 2-week pass. Maybe that's a little bit
The Olympic
more.
pass, yeah.
Yeah, an
Actually, I
Olympic
wonder if
pass.
they
I
have
think
something
that would
like
be.
that. That would be interesting. Yeah, that would be interesting.
That to me would make more business sense per se, because then it's like, well, you only have this, then you only have access to certain coverage of certain things, and then you go on and you're like, oh, but I actually want to watch. I want to be able to watch MLS all the time, right, or something like that. And then you're like,
Yeah,
oh, let me pay up for the
the whole Apple
um,
subscription now. Yeah,
so I feel like
yeah,
that would probably be the better way. And
yeah.
again,
No,
like I haven't done my research into this
yeah.
because I have Peacock, so
Oh, see, I don't. So you can
I
watch
can watch
you
it.
can watch curling all day long.
Yeah, I can. So I
Oh, so
think that's.
you held on to that one before you dropped that bomb on me. Thanks. Oh, I can't say much because I've been watching curling all day long.
Yeah, I have. I have it on right now.
Which actually is
What do you mean? I'm just
interesting
watching
because
right now.
I find it rather interesting though that summer sport, sorry, so in the Summer Olympics, basketball is in the Summer Olympics, even though basketball is played during the winter.
Yeah, that is interesting.
In
I
every
wonder why
country,
that is.
not just. I mean, so in Europe they play during the winter. So okay. Anyway,
Well,
don't get me.
I will say, from a medaling point of view, I think it might just be a medal count sort of thing, and also like with the season, right? Like you're currently in the middle of basketball season right now.
I mean, yeah, it
like,
works. It works for them. Yeah, it works for
so
them.
I think that's really more. That might be more what it is. I don't know. I mean, I know
Well,
for a lot of these
the
things.
NHL had to go. They had to work into their collective bargaining agreement a 3-week break.
Yeah.
So in order to send players over, and now they crushed in a whole bunch of games instead, which is hopefully I didn't do an injury count, but hopefully that didn't hurt many teams very much. But then but it's great. I'm looking forward to the NHL hitting it up here. It should be pretty intense starting this coming weekend. So Alexis, I've been thinking about this the other day. I was like watching Olympics, and while it's great and all, I keep thinking like, do you feel like the Olympics are necessary any longer? Okay.
From what do you mean necessary?
Well, when I say necessary, it's like, okay, every sport that's represented there has their own international professional league. Okay. So now it's just a sport and a calendar, and everybody can watch these people in sport all the time on their TVs. Versus way back when you didn't have that sort of layer, I guess. Mm-hmm. It's like downhill skiing is like, okay, they only had 2 or 3 events, and so therefore this is like the big enchilada. But now it's like there's this alpine skiing event every other weekend somewhere, and so therefore the Olympic, they see the same people.
Well, I mean, even now, those competitors see each other all the time anyway, because they're competing at that level. So,
I guess when it used to be amateurism, in it, like in ice hockey, they use college amateurs, and at least in ice hockey. I guess that's different. They even in some senses amateurism in the other sports versus professionals. That might make the difference. But now, like you said, everybody's kind of seeing each other every week because professionals are permitted to do their sport. Is it illustrating the best of the best? Is that what the objective is here versus amateurism at its best?
So I think the Olympics is still, because I think you can still be an amateur and like go to qualifiers, right? Like there's that. Yeah. So
it's almost an open.
Yeah. So I think in theory, it is still showing the best of the best. And that being said, the best of the best, especially let's say you were at the World Cup like 2 weeks ago, and now you're at the Olympics or what have you, right? Like someone at the World Cup could have a really great day and they took home gold or whatever. And then at the Olympics, you'll turn around and be like, this person, like they just couldn't get their head in the game today, or they hit something wrong. And so then the person who got silver at this event actually got gold, or the person who got fourth at this event actually got silver. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like the Olympics are always there's still a snapshot. There's still a snapshot of an athlete's ability. The fact that you even got to that level, I think, is amazing. Like I've seen people with who qualified for the Olympics who might not have medaled still get like the ring tattoo or whatever, and they deserve it. Like that's an amazing accomplishment.
But I also wonder. Every year, the Olympics goes through and tries to figure out what new sport do I want to add to keep it relevant, right?
Mm-hmm.
I just wonder if
they also take sports off the calendar as well, especially.
But I wonder,
in the Paralympics.
Is it better now to just say kind of what the U.S. is doing with the World Cup is, there's 3 different countries hosting. Is it better now, or are we going to see a future where the Olympics is being hosted by multiple countries? And those sports are now there because the opening ceremonies at the Olympics were now divided into multiple locations.
So you asked me another question, which I haven't quite finished answering. Your first question.
Sorry.
So no, because it'll lead into the second part.
Okay.
So the Olympics, I think, if you look at it from a macro scale, is still really important, and I think is still really cool because for example, you kind of actually answered the question, which is, you went to Paris for the Olympics. You went to Paris for the Olympics. The Olympics brought you to this country, to this experience, to this people, to this culture. You put money into a plane ticket. You put money into travel. You put money into staying at an Airbnb or a hotel. You put money into food. So it helps the economy, right?
Okay.
So it's not just an event, right? It's also a global draw for people to come to use services and from not just in the home country, in the hosting country, but also at their points of origin, right? Like you had to buy coffee at this place. This person had to, in order to get to the airport. This person had to, stop by a flower shop in order to get something for their grandma that they visit in Germany as they pass through to go to France, right? Like it really does help income.
So it's a destination sport.
It's a destination sport. I think there's something absolutely beautiful about having people all congregate in one space for a celebration of sport. Now, I understand what you're saying. Like, if these athletes are competing all over the world anyway, right? Because they have their own World Cups and their own championships and their own leagues and their own teams, and their own meets and their own whatever, right, around the country to begin with. And they're all competing against each other all the time. Something about the Olympics brings everybody together at once. Call it the marketing, call it the advertising, call it the destinations or whatever, but call it what it is. It's a necessary thing to help continue global partnership, global friendship. Meetings happen there, business things, political things. All these things happen in one place, and it is essentially almost an excuse in some ways to like continue those things, to also keep greasing the wheels of industry, right? So we can look at like the things that we can see, but there's also tons of stuff going on behind the scenes that we also don't see because so
that's a good point.
And let's also talk about the city, right? The fact that the Olympics are going to be in Utah in 2034, the winter ones, and the fact that they already know that almost a decade out is amazing, right? Because then local contractors start getting work because they have to build infrastructure. It takes a long time to build up that infrastructure to take all of these tourists, to take all of these teams, to take all these athletes, right? So now those cities are spending money to give people jobs. Those cities are spending time to build their infrastructures better for their local populations. Now, there are definitely times where things like that haven't gone right, for sure. But there's also lots of times when it's gone well, right? I mean, Paris cleaned up the Seine so well that people can swim in it now, right? Like that's amazing.
That's an amazing thing. But they had to start that way in advance. And I agree with you on that one. And you bring up a good point, though. It's like, I think the Olympic committees need to make sure that they do a better job at telling the Olympic selection groups, well, this is what we're going to do with all this infrastructure after what's done. Because that's been a big sore spot over the last few decades, is things have been sitting stagnant and pretty much going back to nature because it was a one and done type of situation. Italy doesn't need 25 different hockey rinks because that's just not what they do. Then why award them something if they can't say, this is what we're going to do with it afterward. It's going to become a team handball venue. Perfect. Okay, it's going to be continually used versus, a bobsled run. What are you going to do with it when it's done? You have to make sure that the opportunities are there.
I think that also goes into, hey, we have specialists to make temporary infrastructure. And then that gives them money, that gives them jobs, that continues the economy. So and that continues their profession. So I think there's so much more that goes into it than we really think about when we just tune in and turn on the TV.
As I say, this is probably an opportunity for you. You start asking for those press badges for the rock climbing competition in 2028 in Los Angeles.
True. Yeah, I should.
'Cause you
Especially
know
because
that's
it's
gonna
in
be
my
pretty
backyard comparatively.
right. So really appreciate everybody listening in today, watching us talk about the Olympics, talk a little bit about the Super Bowl and what I've pretty much done in my life with the Super Bowl. And Alexis needs to get out and get to more Super Bowl parties. But, comment down below, send us your favorite Super Bowl eats. I love that, as well as if you've.
I want to know your Super Bowl eats and your Super Bowl games. Yeah, for sure.
Yes, and as well, if you ever go to the Olympics, what event you want to see?
Yeah, tell us in the comments.
Any Olympics.
And yeah, let us know your thoughts. And thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.
All right, we'll see everybody later.